My name is Kate Brooks, and I'm a travel nurse from Portland, Oregon. For the past 2 years, I've been taking assignments across the country. Sometimes I'm gone for 2 weeks, sometimes 4, working in understaffed hospitals from Phoenix to Boston. The money is good. Better than good, actually. It's enough to rebuild the life we almost lost when my husband Derek was laid off from his corporate job. Good enough to keep our daughter Lily's college fund growing. But when I came home from my last assignment in late September, I walked into my own house and discovered something that destroyed everything I thought I knew about my family. It changed my life completely, and maybe it will change yours too, especially if you're a parent who has to be away from your kids for work. If you're just starting to listen to my story, I need you to understand something. I'm not here for sympathy. I'm here because there are other mothers out there right now, working hard, doing their best, trusting the people they love, and they have no idea what's happening behind closed doors. If my story can help even one person see the signs I missed, then maybe sharing this nightmare will mean something. Because what I'm about to tell you, I never imagined it could happen in my own home. I remember the exact moment I knew something was terribly wrong. It was a Thursday evening, around 6 o'clock. I'd just driven 8 hours straight from Seattle, where I'd finished a 3-week assignment at a cardiac unit. I was exhausted, my scrubs were wrinkled, and all I wanted was to hug my daughter and collapse into my own bed. I opened the front door, expecting the usual chaos. Lily's backpack thrown by the stairs, her soccer cleats kicked off in the entryway, maybe music playing from her room. She was 14. Mess was her natural state, but the house was silent. Spotless, actually. Everything in its place. "Lily?" I called out, setting my bag down. "Baby, I'm home." I heard footsteps, but they were heavy, adult footsteps. Derek appeared at the top of the stairs, and for a second I barely recognized him. He'd lost weight, his jaw was tight, his posture rigid. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Kate, you're early." He came down the stairs, gave me a brief hug that felt more like an obligation than affection. "How was the drive?" "Long. Where's Lily?" I asked. "In her room. Doing homework." He said it casually, but something in his tone made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. "She's been very focused lately. We've been working on something." I moved past him toward the stairs. "I'm going to go see her." "Maybe give her a few minutes," Derek called after me. "She's in the middle of an assignment." I ignored him. When I pushed open Lily's bedroom door, my breath caught. My daughter was sitting at her desk, hunched over a textbook. But that's not what stopped me. It was how small she looked, how her clothes, a baggy hoodie and sweatpants, seemed to swallow her whole. How her hair, which she'd always worn long and wild, was pulled back in a severe ponytail. How her shoulders were hunched forward, like she was trying to disappear into herself. "Lily." She turned and I saw her face. My beautiful, vibrant girl looked hollow. Her cheeks were sunken, dark circles shadowed her eyes, her skin was pale, almost gray. And when she saw me, instead of the smile I expected, the running hug, the excited chatter about everything I'd missed, she just stared. "Hi, Mom." Her voice was flat, empty. I crossed the room and knelt beside her chair. "Baby, what happened? Are you sick?" "I'm fine." She wouldn't look at me, kept her eyes on the textbook. "You don't look fine. You look—" I reached out to touch her face and she flinched, actually flinched away from me. My hand froze in midair. "Lily?" "I'm just tired, Mom. I have a lot of homework." She turned back to her book, effectively dismissing me. I stood there, my heart pounding, staring at this stranger wearing my daughter's face. This wasn't teenager moodiness. This wasn't her being mad at me for being gone. This was something else. Something that made my stomach twist into knots. Behind me, I heard Derek in the doorway. "See? She's fine, just focused." I turned to look at him, and he was smiling, that same tight, controlled smile. "She's lost weight," I said quietly after leaving her bedroom. "She's been eating healthier, getting in shape. She quit soccer, remember? Didn't want to lose her fitness." I didn't remember her quitting soccer. When had that happened? "Can I talk to you downstairs?" I said, keeping my voice level. In the kitchen, with the door closed, I rounded on him. "What the hell is going on?" "She looks sick, Derek. She's lost. What, 15 pounds? 20? "She's fine." She's actually better than fine. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. You're gone a lot, Kate. You don't see the day-to-day. Lily was getting lazy, spending too much time on her phone, letting her grades slip. I implemented some structure. It's been good for her. She flinched when I tried to touch her. She's a teenager. They're moody, he replied. This isn't moody. This is... I couldn't even put words to what I was feeling. I want to take her to the doctor. For what? Being focused on school? Derek's voice got harder. You've been gone for 3 weeks. You walk in here for 5 minutes and suddenly you're the expert on our daughter? I've been here, Kate, every single day. I know what she needs. There was something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Something cold, offensive. I opened my mouth to argue, but then I heard the soft creak of floorboards above us. Lily was moving around upstairs. I'm going to check on her before bed, I said. Sure, do whatever you want. You always do. The bitterness in his voice stopped me. We'd been having these fights more often lately. About money, about me traveling, about him being home all the time since losing his job. But this felt different. This felt like a line had been crossed somewhere while I was away, and I didn't even know where the line was. That night, I lay awake in bed, listening. Around midnight, I heard it. Derek's side of the bed was empty. I sat up slowly, letting my eyes adjust to the darkness. The bedroom door was open just a crack, and I could see light coming from under Lily's door down the hall. I heard voices, low. His was firm. Hers was she crying? My heart started pounding. I got up quietly and moved to the hallway. The light under Lily's door went dark. I heard the door open and quickly pressed myself against the wall. Derek stepped out of her room, closed the door softly behind him, and stood there for a moment. In the dim light from the hallway nightlight, I could see his face. He looked satisfied, calm, like he'd just finished some important task. He turned and saw me. For a second, neither of us moved. She had a nightmare, he said quietly. I was just settling her down. At midnight? I whispered. She woke up. I heard her, went to check. He walked past me toward our bedroom. Come back to bed. But I didn't move. I stood there staring at Lily's closed door, and every instinct in my body was screaming that something was wrong. Very, very wrong. What I didn't know then, what I wouldn't discover until I installed that camera, was that Derek had been going into her room every single night. And what he was doing in there, what he was putting our daughter through, it was every mother's worst nightmare. If you're connecting with what I'm about to tell you, please press the like button to bring a little light to this mother's heart. It helps me know I'm not alone in this. The next morning, I woke up exhausted. Derek was already downstairs making coffee, acting like everything was normal, like I hadn't caught him coming out of our daughter's room in the middle of the night. I went to Lily's room and knocked softly. Baby, can I come in? Yeah, she called out. Her voice was small. She was already dressed in another oversized hoodie and sweatpants, making her bed with careful precision. Every corner tucked tight, every pillow perfectly aligned. This wasn't my daughter. Lily never made her bed. Did you sleep okay? I asked, sitting on the edge of the mattress. Fine, she answered without looking at me. Lily, I need you to be honest with me. Is everything okay with Dad? Her whole body went rigid. For just a second, I saw something flash in her eyes. Fear, maybe, or panic, but then it was gone, replaced by that flat, empty expression. Everything's fine, Mom, she said quietly. Because if something's wrong, if something's happening that you need to tell me about, nothing's happening. She grabbed her backpack. I have to go. I'll miss the bus. She brushed past me and was gone before I could say another word. I sat there on her perfectly made bed, staring at the room. Everything was too clean, too organized. The Lily I knew had posters on the walls, makeup scattered on her dresser, shoes everywhere. Now the walls were bare. The dresser was empty except for a small mirror. Even her soccer trophies were gone. Where had everything gone? I opened her closet. Most of her clothes were gone too, just a few pairs of sweatpants, some oversized hoodies, all in dark colors. At the back of the closet, I found a trash bag. Inside were her old clothes. Her bright t-shirts, her jeans, her dresses, the clothes that actually fit her. My hands were shaking as I tied the bag back up. Downstairs, Derek was reading something on his phone, sipping his coffee. He looked up when I came in. "She's very organized now," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Her room is spotless." "I told you, it's good for her," he replied. "Where are her soccer trophies?" "She put them away, said they were reminders of something she quit. She didn't want to look at them anymore," he explained. "And her clothes?" "She threw away half her wardrobe." Derek shrugged. "She's growing up, changing her style. Teenagers do that." "In 3 weeks?" I challenged. His jaw tightened. "What exactly are you accusing me of, Kate?" "I'm not accusing you of anything," I said. "I'm saying our daughter looks sick and you're acting like everything's fine." "Because everything is fine," he shot back. "You're projecting. You feel guilty for being gone all the time, so you're looking for problems that don't exist." That stung. Maybe because part of it was true. I did feel guilty. Every time I left for an assignment, every time I missed a school event or a dinner or just a random Tuesday afternoon, the guilt ate at me. But this wasn't about my guilt. "I want to talk to her, really talk to her, without you there," I said firmly. "I don't hover," he replied defensively. "Derek, last night you were in her room at midnight. That's not normal. She had a nightmare. I was comforting my daughter. That's called being a parent." He stood up, grabbed his keys. "I'm going to the gym. Maybe you should use this time to think about whether you trust me or not, because right now it feels like you don't." He left before I could respond. The house was silent again, oppressively silent. I went back upstairs to Lily's room and just stood there trying to figure out what I was missing. What was I not seeing? That's when I noticed the notebook on her desk. Plain, black, no label. I picked it up and opened it. The first page made my stomach drop. It was a food log. Every single thing she'd eaten for the past 3 weeks, written in Lily's handwriting. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, all documented with meticulous detail. But next to each entry was another set of notes in red ink. Different handwriting, corrections, criticisms, instructions to reduce portions, eliminate foods, count every calorie. The notes got harsher as I flipped through the pages. Comments about what was acceptable, what was too much, what needed to be reduced further, and at the bottom of each day, there was a number, her weight, tracked daily, with notes about whether it was going in the right direction. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the notebook. Someone was controlling every bite of food she ate, weighing her every single day. I kept flipping. The entries got more detailed, more controlling. There were notes about consequences when she didn't follow the plan, about lessons that needed to be learned. I heard the front door open. Derek was back already. I quickly put the notebook back exactly where I'd found it and went downstairs, my heart pounding. "Gym was closed," he said, hanging up his keys. "Pipe burst. They're fixing it. Derek, we need to talk about Lily's eating," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. His expression didn't change. "What about it?" "I found a food journal in her room. Everything she eats is being monitored. She's being weighed every day. She's lost 20 pounds in 3 weeks," I said. "It's a health journal," he replied calmly. "She's learning self-discipline. She's 14 years old and she's lost 20 pounds in 3 weeks. That's not healthy. That's dangerous." My voice was rising. "She needed to lose weight." He said it so calmly, so matter-of-factly. She was getting heavy. "I'm teaching her now while there's still time. She's a growing teenager. She's supposed to be obese, be bullied, be miserable." His voice rose suddenly. "I'm protecting her, Kate. I'm teaching her now before she ends up..." He stopped abruptly. "Before she ends up what?" I asked quietly. He turned away. "Nothing. Forget it." "No, say it. Before she ends up what?" I pressed. Like I was, the words exploded out of him. "Before she ends up fat and miserable and hated like I was. Do you have any idea what it's like to be the fat kid? To be bullied every single day? To have your own father look at you with disgust?" I stood there, frozen. In 15 years of marriage, Derek had never talked about his childhood, never mentioned being overweight, never mentioned bullying. "I was 240 pounds in 8th grade, he continued, his voice shaking now. My father made me run every morning before school, controlled everything I ate, and you know what? It worked. I lost the weight. I became someone. I wasn't the fat kid anymore. Derek, I said carefully, what your father did to you, that sounds like it was really hard. It was necessary, he corrected. And I'm giving Lily that same gift. She's finally taking control, getting disciplined. She'll thank me someday. Oh, God. Oh, God, he actually believed this. He thought he was helping her. I need you to talk to her, I said, changing tactics. Tell her she doesn't need to lose more weight, that she's beautiful the way she is. Can you do that? He studied me for a moment, then nodded. Fine, I'll talk to her. But Kate, you need to trust that I know what I'm doing here. I'm her father. And I'm her mother, I replied. We're supposed to be a team. Then act like it, he said, and walked away. That evening, Derek went up to Lily's room after dinner. I stayed downstairs, listening to the murmur of voices overhead. After about 15 minutes, he came back down. I talked to her, he announced. Told her she's doing great and doesn't need to stress about the weight stuff anymore. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. Really, thank you. See, we can work together on this, he said, putting his arm around me. We're on the same side. Later that night, after Derek fell asleep, I crept upstairs to check on Lily. I needed to see if she was okay, if the conversation with Derek had helped at all. Her door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open quietly and saw her sitting at her desk, writing in that black notebook by lamplight. She looked up when she heard me and quickly closed the book. Mom, I thought you were asleep, she whispered. Just wanted to check on you. Dad said you two talked? I sat on the edge of her bed. Yeah, she said quietly. And how are you feeling? She looked down at her hands. He said you were worried about nothing, that I'm doing really well and I just need to keep going a little longer. My blood ran cold. Keep going? With the health plan, she said like it was obvious. He said not to let you distract me from my goals, that you mean well but you don't understand. That lying bastard. He hadn't told her she was fine. Lily, baby, listen to me, I said, moving closer. You don't need to lose any more weight. You're perfect exactly as— Mom, please, she interrupted, and there were tears in her eyes now. Please, don't make this harder. I'm trying really hard to be good, to do everything right. I can't— her voice broke. I can't mess this up. Mess what up, sweetie? But she was already closing down again, shutting me out. I'm really tired. Can we talk tomorrow? I wanted to push, wanted to demand answers, but the exhaustion and fear in her eyes stopped me. Okay, I said softly. Tomorrow. I love you, baby. Love you too, she whispered, but it sounded automatic, like something she was supposed to say, not something she felt. Back in my bedroom, I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. Derek had lied to me, straight to my face, and Lily, my brave, strong daughter, was terrified. Terrified of messing up. Terrified of disappointing him. What was he doing to her when I wasn't here? What were those consequences mentioned in the journal? What happened during those midnight visits to her room? I thought about calling someone. My sister, a doctor, the police even, and say what? That my husband was helping my daughter eat healthy? That he was setting rules and structure? They'd think I was overreacting, that I was the problem. I needed proof. Real, concrete proof of what was happening in this house when I wasn't looking. That's when I made the decision that would change everything. I was going to install a camera in Lily's room. The next morning, I told Derek I needed to run errands. Instead, I drove to an electronics store 30 minutes away, somewhere he'd never go. A young guy behind the counter greeted me. I must have looked as stressed as I felt because he asked if I was okay. I'm fine, I lied. I need a security camera, something small, discreet. He showed me several options. Hidden cameras that looked like phone chargers, alarm clocks, picture frames. My hands were shaking as I looked at them. This one's our bestseller, he said, holding up something that looked like a small USB charging brick. Streams directly to your phone. Night vision, motion activated. You can access the footage from anywhere in the world. I'll take it, I said. I paid in cash. Didn't want it showing up on our credit card statement. When I got home, Derek's car was gone. He'd mentioned something about an appointment. Lily was at school. I had maybe an hour. I went to her room and looked around for the perfect spot. It needed to capture the whole room but be invisible. Finally, I settled on her bookshelf. There was an outlet behind it, hidden by some old textbooks. I positioned the camera between two books, angled so it would record everything: her bed, her desk, the door. I tested it on my phone. Perfect view, perfect angle. My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I put the books back in place. What was I doing? This was my husband, my daughter, my family. Was I really spying on them? But then I remembered Lily's face, the hollowness, the fear, the flinch when I tried to touch her, the way she'd said, "I can't mess this up." Yes, I was really doing this. I downloaded the app, set up the alerts, made sure everything was working perfectly. Then I cleaned up any evidence I'd been there and left. That night at dinner, I made an announcement. "I picked up another assignment," I said casually. "They called this morning, really good pay." Derek looked up. "When?" "Day after tomorrow, just 10 days this time. Spokane," I explained. He nodded, seeming pleased. "That's good. The money helps, and Lily and I will be fine, won't we?" He smiled at our daughter. She nodded silently, pushing food around her plate. I noticed she'd barely eaten anything. "We've got our routine down now," Derek continued, looking back at me. "Don't worry about a thing." That's exactly what I was afraid of. The next day, I made a show of packing for my trip. I kissed Lily goodbye before school, holding her a little longer than usual. "I love you so much, baby," I whispered into her hair. "You know that, right?" "I know, Mom," she replied quietly. "And you can always call me, anytime, day or night, for anything," I added. She pulled away, looking uncomfortable. "I know, I'll be fine," but I could see it in her eyes. She wasn't fine, and she wouldn't call me. Whatever was happening, she was too afraid to tell me. That afternoon, I drove to a hotel 15 minutes from our house, close enough to get home quickly if I needed to, far enough that Derek would never think to look for me there. I checked into the room, set up my laptop, and opened the camera app on both my phone and computer. The wait began. Around 7 p.m., I watched on the screen as Derek and Lily ate dinner together. Well, Derek ate. Lily mostly moved food around her plate. I couldn't hear audio. The camera didn't have that feature, but I could see him watching her, monitoring every bite. After dinner, Lily went to her room to do homework. Derek appeared in her doorway a few times, checking on her. Each time, she would sit up straighter, look more focused. Around 9 p.m., she got ready for bed, changed into pajamas, long sleeves and pants, even though it was still warm for September. She sat on the edge of her bed for a long time, just staring at nothing. Then, she got under the covers and turned off the light. I watched the empty, dark room on my screen, illuminated only by the camera's night vision, which gave everything a greenish glow. At 10:47 p.m., her door opened. Derek entered the room. I sat up straighter, my heart beginning to pound. He was carrying something, but I couldn't quite see what it was in the dim light. He turned on her bedside lamp. Lily was already sitting up in bed like she'd been expecting him, like this was a routine. My hands were shaking as I watched. Derek set down what he was carrying, a digital scale and a notebook, the same black notebook I'd seen on her desk. "Stand up," I saw him say. Even without audio, I could read his lips. Lily got out of bed and stood in the middle of the room. "Strip," he said. Oh, God. My daughter, my 14-year-old, began taking off her pajamas. She was crying. I could see her shoulders shaking. But she did it. She stood there in just her underwear while Derek placed the scale in front of her. "Step on," he ordered. She did. He looked at the number and wrote it in the notebook. Then he pulled out a measuring tape and began measuring her waist, her thighs, her arms, writing down each number. When he finished, he stood in front of her and I could see his mouth moving, talking. Lily's head was bowed, tears streaming down her face. Then he did something that made my blood run cold. He pulled off his belt. I watched, frozen in horror, as he folded it in half. Lily saw it too and took a step back, but he grabbed her arm. "No," I whispered at the screen, even though I knew they couldn't hear me. "No, no, no." The first strike hit her thigh. Even through the silent video, I could see her body jerk with pain. She brought her hand to her mouth, clearly trying not to scream. He hit her again and again. Her legs, her arms, her stomach, places that could be hidden under clothes. Between strikes, he was talking to her, lecturing. I could see his face, see the cold determination there. This wasn't rage. This was calculated, methodical. When he finally stopped, Lily was shaking violently, collapsed on the floor. He made her stand up and look in the mirror mounted on her closet door. He pointed at her reflection, saying something. Lily was sobbing now, but nodding, agreeing with whatever horrible thing he was telling her. Finally, he let her put her pajamas back on. But before he left, he made her kneel beside the bed. She clasped her hands together, and I realized with horror that he was making her pray. Thank him for the discipline. Ask forgiveness for her failures. I didn't need audio to know what kind of twisted prayer he was forcing from her. When he finally left her room, closing the door softly behind him, Lily stayed on the floor. She curled into a ball and cried silently, her whole body convulsing with sobs that no one was supposed to hear. I was crying too, staring at the screen, my hands covering my mouth to keep from screaming. My husband, the man I'd loved for 15 years, the man I'd built a life with, was torturing our daughter. And he'd been doing it every single night while I was away. While I was working to support our family, he was beating our child in the name of discipline. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and called the one person I knew I could trust. Sarah? My voice was barely a whisper. Sarah Chen was my oldest friend, a social worker I'd known since college. I need help. I need you to come to the Holiday Inn on Route 26 right now. It's an emergency. It's about Lily. I'll be there in 20 minutes, she said without hesitation. While I waited, I watched the camera feed. Lily had finally crawled into bed, still crying. She clutched her pillow to her chest, her whole body shaking. 15 minutes later, there was a knock on my hotel room door. I opened it to find Sarah standing there, her face etched with concern. Kate, what's going on? Are you okay? Is Lily— Watch this, I interrupted, pulling her inside. Just watch. I played the footage from the beginning. Sarah stood beside me, and I watched her expression change from confusion to shock to absolute horror. Oh my God, she whispered when it was over. Kate, I need to get her out of there, I said, my voice shaking. Tonight, right now, but I don't know if I just go take her. Can he stop me? What are my rights? What do I do? Sarah grabbed my hands. Okay, listen to me. We're going to handle this the right way. First, you need to save that footage. Multiple copies. Cloud storage, USB drive, everything. That's evidence of child abuse. I nodded, already pulling out my laptop to start downloading. Second, you're going to call the police. Show them this video. They'll send officers to the house to remove Lily and place her in your custody. They'll likely arrest Derek, Sarah continued. Will they believe me? Will the video be enough? I asked. Kate, that video is clear as day. There's no ambiguity here. This is documentation of physical abuse of a minor. They'll believe you, she assured me. But we need to act now, before he does this to her again tomorrow night. My hands were shaking as I picked up my phone to call 911. 911, what's your emergency? My name is Kate Brooks. I need to report child abuse. I have video evidence of my husband beating our 14-year-old daughter. She's at home with him right now, and I need someone to get her out of there immediately. The dispatcher's voice became sharper, more focused. Where is the child located? I gave her our address. And where are you calling from, ma'am? A hotel nearby. I've been documenting what happens when I'm not home. I have it on video. Everything, I explained. Officers are being dispatched now. Can you meet them at the residence? Yes, I'll go there right now, I said. Sarah grabbed her keys. I'm driving. You're in no condition. We got to the house before the police. All the lights were off. Derek and Lily were both asleep, having no idea their entire world was about to change. 3 squad cars pulled up, lights flashing, but sirens off. Sarah and I got out of her car as 2 officers approached us. Mrs. Brooks? The older officer asked. He was in his 50s with kind eyes. I'm Officer Martinez. You called about abuse of a minor? Yes, my daughter Lily. She's 14. She's inside with my husband Derek. He's been beating her every night, controlling everything she eats, weighing her, measuring her. I have it all on video. I installed a camera, and the words tumbled out of me. Okay, slow down. Do you have the video with you? He asked calmly. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and showed him. He watched, his expression growing darker with each second. When it finished, he looked at his partner. Call CPS, get them here now, and let's get that girl out of that house, he said firmly. Officer Martinez turned to me. Mrs. Brooks, we're going to need you to stay here while we go inside. Do you have a key? I handed it over, my heart pounding. 4 officers approached the house. I watched from the street with Sarah's arm around me as they knocked loudly. Police, open the door. It took a few minutes, but eventually I saw lights turning on inside. The door opened. Derek stood there in his pajamas, confused and annoyed. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I saw Derek's face change from annoyance to shock to anger as they spoke to him. He tried to close the door, but an officer blocked it. Then they were inside. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, the door opened again, and an officer emerged with Lily. She was wrapped in a blanket, still in her pajamas, looking terrified and confused. I ran toward her. Lily! Baby! Mom! She saw me and her face crumpled. Mom, what's happening? They said, Dad. I pulled her into my arms, holding her so tight I was afraid I might hurt her, but I couldn't let go. You're safe now. You're safe. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner. She was crying, shaking in my arms. Did I do something wrong? Is Dad? You didn't do anything wrong, I said fiercely, pulling back to look at her face. Nothing. Do you hear me? This was never your fault. Behind us, I heard shouting. Derek was being led out in handcuffs, yelling my name. Kate! Kate, what the hell did you do? I was helping her. You're going to ruin her. You're going to… Mr. Brooks, you need to calm down, Officer Martinez said firmly. You have the right to remain silent. This is insane. My wife is crazy. She's trying to turn my daughter against me. I have rights. You can't just… They put him in the back of a police car. Lily buried her face in my shoulder, crying harder. A woman approached us, older, professional-looking. Mrs. Brooks, I'm Carol Henderson from Child Protective Services. I need to speak with you and Lily. Sarah stepped forward. I'm Sarah Chen, a licensed social worker and family friend. With Mrs. Brooks's permission, I'd like to be present for this conversation. Of course, Carol said kindly. She looked at Lily with gentle eyes. Sweetheart, I know this is scary, but you're safe now. We're going to make sure you stay safe. The next few hours were a blur of questions, statements, and medical examinations. They took Lily to the hospital to document her injuries. When the doctor lifted her shirt, I saw the bruises covering her torso, her arms, her legs. Some were fresh, some were old, fading to yellow and green. These show a pattern of repeated abuse over an extended period, the doctor explained quietly, taking photographs for evidence. Some of these are weeks old. Weeks? He'd been doing this for weeks, maybe months, and I'd missed it. I'd been so busy working, so busy trying to keep us afloat financially, that I hadn't seen what was happening to my daughter in my own home. Lily sat silently through the examination, her eyes empty again, disconnected. When they finished, she just said, Can I get dressed now? The doctor prescribed her some medication to help with the pain and gave us information for therapists who specialized in childhood trauma. It was nearly 3 a.m. when we were finally allowed to leave. Sarah drove us back to the hotel. There was no way I was taking Lily back to that house. Not tonight, maybe not ever. In the hotel room, I ordered room service, comfort food, things I knew Lily used to love, pizza, fries, a chocolate milkshake. She stared at it like it was a foreign object. You don't have to eat it if you don't want to, I said softly. But there are no rules anymore, okay? No restrictions, no punishments. You can eat what you want, when you want, or not eat, whatever you need. Dad said… She started, then stopped. What did Dad say, honey? I asked gently. He said if I ever ate this kind of food, I'd balloon up and everyone would hate me. That I'd hate myself, she whispered. He said he was the only one who loved me enough to stop me from destroying myself. I felt tears burning in my eyes again. Baby, That's not love. What he did to you, that was abuse. It was cruel and it was wrong and none of it was your fault. But I was getting heavy, she said, and her voice sounded so small, so much younger than 14. He showed me pictures. He said I needed to fix it before it was too late. Lily, listen to me. You were perfect. You are perfect. There was nothing wrong with your body. You were growing, developing, being a normal, healthy teenager. Your father, I had to stop and swallow hard. Your father was projecting his own pain onto you, hurting you because he was hurt. But that doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it okay. She looked at the food again. I don't know if I can. That's okay. We'll take it slow. One day at a time. Maybe even one meal at a time, I assured her. We're going to get you help, baby. Therapy, doctors, whatever you need to heal from this. Are you going to leave again? She asked suddenly, looking at me with those hollow eyes. For work? No, I said immediately. No more travel assignments. I'm done. I'm staying here with you. I'm never leaving you alone again. But the money? We'll figure it out. I'll find a local job. We'll downsize if we have to. None of that matters, Lily. You matter. Your health and safety and happiness. That's all that matters, I told her firmly. She started crying then, really crying, for the first time since the police had arrived. Deep, wrenching sobs that shook her whole body. I pulled her close and let her cry, stroking her hair and promising over and over that she was safe now, that I was here, that I would never let anyone hurt her again. Sarah had discreetly left to give us privacy, but she'd written down her number and left it on the nightstand. Call me any time, the note said. Day or night. Eventually, Lily cried herself to sleep, exhausted. I stayed awake, watching her breathe, watching the rise and fall of her chest, terrified that if I closed my eyes, something terrible would happen. Around 5 a.m., my phone buzzed. It was Officer Martinez. Mrs. Brooks, I wanted to update you. Your husband has been charged with multiple counts of child abuse and assault. He's being held without bail. There will be a protective order issued, prohibiting any contact with you or your daughter, and now based on the evidence, we're confident about the case moving forward, he explained it. Thank you, I whispered, not wanting to wake Lily. Thank you so much. You did the right thing, he said. A lot of parents, they see the signs, but they don't act. They make excuses, they look the other way. You didn't do that. You protected your daughter. After we hung up, I thought about his words. Had I protected her? I'd been so blind for so long. If I hadn't installed that camera, if I hadn't seen the abuse with my own eyes, would I have believed her? Would I have acted? I wanted to say yes, but I honestly didn't know. The next few weeks were a nightmare of legal proceedings, therapy appointments, and trying to rebuild some kind of normal life. I found a position at a local hospital, regular hours, no travel. Lily started seeing Dr. Patricia Morris, a psychologist who specialized in trauma and eating disorders. At first, Lily barely talked in their sessions, but slowly, week by week, she began to open up. Your daughter has developed a severe eating disorder, Dr. Morris explained to me after one session. The abuse was specifically designed to create anxiety and shame around food and her body. She's going to need extensive treatment, therapy, possibly medication, definitely nutritional counseling. Whatever she needs, I said. Whatever it takes. It's going to be a long road, the doctor warned. She may struggle with this for years, maybe her whole life. The damage your husband did, it runs deep. I knew she was right. I could see it in the way Lily would stare at herself in mirrors with disgust, the way she still tried to hide her body in baggy clothes, the way she would panic if I suggested going out to eat. One night, about a month after everything happened, Lily came to my room late. I was still awake, reading. Mom, she said from the doorway, can I ask you something? Of course, baby. Come in, I said, patting the bed beside me. She sat down, pulling her knees to her chest. Did you love Dad before all this? It was a fair question, one I'd been asking myself. I did, I said honestly, or at least I loved who I thought he was. But the man I loved wouldn't have hurt you. The man I loved didn't exist. Or maybe he did, once, but he became someone else. Someone I don't recognize. Do you think he really believed he was helping me? She asked. I think he convinced himself he was, I answered carefully. I think his own father hurt him badly when he was young, and instead of healing from that, he decided it had been good for him, that it had made him strong, and he wanted to give you that same terrible gift. That's messed up, she said quietly. Yeah, it really is. Dr. Morris says I might always struggle with food, with my body image, that what Dad did. It changed something in my brain, Lily said, and she sounded so tired, so much older than 14. I know, and I'm so sorry, baby. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry I left you alone with him. Mom, stop, she interrupted. Dr. Morris says you can't blame yourself. That abusers are really good at hiding what they do. That's what makes them dangerous. She's right, but it's hard not to feel like I failed you, I admitted. You didn't fail me. You saved me, she said softly. You installed that camera. You called the police. You got me out. A lot of parents, they know when they don't do anything. Dr. Morris told me that. She said you did the hardest thing a parent can do. I pulled her into a hug, both of us crying again. We seem to do that a lot these days. Today, 6 months after that horrible night, we're still healing, still building a new life from the wreckage of our old one. Derek took a plea deal, with the condition that he complete psychological treatment and have no contact with Lily unless she initiates it as an adult. His lawyer tried to argue that he was suffering from undiagnosed PTSD from his own childhood trauma, that he didn't understand what he was doing was wrong. The judge didn't buy it. I didn't go to the sentencing. But Sarah did, and she told me everything. Lily is making progress, slow progress, but progress nonetheless. She's gained back some weight, still not enough, but she's trying. She started eating regular meals again, though she still has panic attacks sometimes. She's back in school, though she had to switch to a new one where nobody knew about what happened. She joined a support group for teenagers who have experienced abuse. She says it helps to talk to other kids who understand, who don't judge. Last week, she asked if she could try playing soccer again. Not competitively, just for fun with a rec league. I almost cried with relief. Are you sure? I asked. No pressure. Only if you want to. I think I want to, she said. I used to love it, before Dad made me quit, before everything became about weight and control. I want to try loving it again. So I signed her up, and yesterday, I watched her play in her first game. She was rusty, out of practice, but she was smiling. Really, genuinely smiling. And when she scored a goal, she pumped her fist in the air and laughed. It was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. After the game, as we were driving home, she said, "Thank you, Mom." For what? I asked. For believing me. Even though I didn't tell you with words, you believed something was wrong and you didn't stop until you found out what it was. A lot of kids, their parents don't believe them, or they do, but they don't act. You acted, she explained. I love you, Lily. I will always believe you, always protect you. That's my job. That's what mothers are supposed to do, I said, reaching over to squeeze her hand. If you're listening to my story, I need you to hear this. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong with your child, don't ignore it. Don't let anyone convince you that you're overreacting. Investigate, ask questions. If you have to, install a camera, document everything, and if you discover abuse, act immediately. Call the police, call CPS. Get your child to safety, even if it means upending your entire life. Because your child's safety is worth everything. I almost lost my daughter because I was too busy, too trusting, too willing to believe that everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. Don't make the same mistake I did. If this story resonated with you, if it helped you in any way, please press the like button and subscribe to this channel. Share it with other parents who might need to hear it. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Thank you for listening to my story. From one mother to another, trust yourself, believe your children, and never stop fighting for them, because they're counting on us.